White Eagle just texted me and said, thanks, I will see you on the set with Ashawana. Ashawana is someone that he has healed, and she is a walking testimony. So am I.
Well, a lot of the minority children, Native Americans, a lot of Hispanic, were victimized, and they were picked up for any reason that any slight report was made, and they were taken in, and they were immediately drugged. And this was what you call experimental types of situations that they were placed under. As far as anything goes, their parents were not given any consent for this or any knowledge, and so it was all unlawful. But as far as anything goes, the crimes that were committed were against the children by the substance abuse. And they declared for anybody that is more likely aware of what the law is, like the state of New Mexico as an example, they declared the child incompetent. Well, okay. If you can declare the child incompetent, that means that he is incompetent in a way that he can't function for himself. Even a person in court is incompetent. If they go to court and they're mentally incompetent, they can't represent themselves. But I've used a lot of different angles because the law states if you're an incompetent person, the statute of limitation doesn't run, which means it's similar to a sovereign. The statute of limitation does not run, which means they are open to lawsuit at any age that child ages out thereafter. There's no limitation period for coming back to the state and filing a lawsuit against them.
So let's put it this way. Children are taken out of their homes, correct? 1. 2, they're giving drugs that wasn't even okayed by the proper authorities to okay it, which is the FDA. Okay. Now, there might have been a child, nothing wrong with this child, and they decided to start pumping drugs into this child, correct?
Correct.
Oh, my God. Where's the tyranny here? Can we now see it, guys? I mean, these children were forcefully taken out of their homes and then forcefully given drugs. And how did you come about finding this out, White Eagle?
Well, my children, they broke open in my house without a warrant, and they took my children and then created charges that were falsified. And in reality, they were called frivolous. They were termed frivolous charges. By filing a frivolous complaint and prosecuting a frivolous complaint, it's a violation of the Code of Ethics of Attorneys, and it's grounds for revoking his license, in which I had both of the prosecuting attorneys' licenses revoked permanently. It ended up better than 7 attorneys that I had their licenses revoked. Even the representing attorneys that I retained, they failed to follow through with filing my appeal to the Supreme Court, and they failed to follow through with communication with me. I took all their licenses and their law firm at the same time. The guardian litem and my understanding that the guardian litem was in cahoots with another party that represented, and another 2 individual attorneys lost their licenses. Furthering this,
go ahead.
Furthering this, went on appeal, which was a certified appeal to go to the appellate court that covers the 5th District. Well, the 3 appellate court judges stated that it was okay to go into a house without a warrant. Well, this because of their decisive, their decision in following through with making it a violation of the Constitution, 4th Amendment, where they must have a warrant with probable cause, sworn to enter in a home. They could not substantiate why. Well, I filed charges against the 3 appellate court judges, and the first time in the history of New Mexico, they were removed, period, because they failed to uphold the Constitution. So that was in the newspapers, the biggest newspaper in the Albuquerque Journal. And then further than that, I filed dereliction of duty charges against the U.S. attorney out of Albuquerque. His name was Greg Ferrat. That came out within about 30 days thereafter, and he was removed or terminated from his position as U.S. attorney.
Okay. And you came about knowing about this by going and visiting your children they took forcefully for no reason, and you saying that your children were drugged up, correct?
They were. I could see the dilation of the eyes. I noted that they couldn't even stand by themselves. They had to be held when they walked up the stairs to the second floor of the courthouse.
Oh my goodness,
that's horrible.
That is very horrible. I mean, so many children suffer in this world as it is. There's so many different abuses, and this is one abuse. This right here is clearly abuse. Who ran the center in which the children were staying in? The government?
The state.
The state ran that. Okay. And what did they change any way that they did things?
No. Well, I allege that they never served me whatsoever, which I was never served. Plus, further, I never received any notices of court hearings. And I was locked out of 2 court hearings, and they had a court proceeding without me, even though they knew I was outside. They locked me outside the court. All these reports and vast documentation was sent into the Feds, Justice Department, the FBI about crimes against children, and a lot of letters to the head of the FBI, and a lot of documentation was sent out to the other federal departments. But as far as anything goes, they were acting unfairly, and it appeared to be just a kangaroo court session outside the scope of law.
Wow. And I'm sure that. How are your children doing now today? They're fine, right?
They're not doing too good. The initial cite was the citation they gave me was that I didn't have any food in the home, and the photographs that they took in opposition to what I objected to were they were showing that my cupboards were full, my freezer was full of food, and also my refrigerator was full of food, and so they had to kick that charge out.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is what I'm saying is, there's comes a time, White Eagle, that, and me and you talked a lot on the phone. You've done so much for my family, and I want to thank you. But there's times that my cupboards are bare, and I have to run the store and get food. And if it's a moment that someone, let's say, for instance, would want to call DFS here in Missouri on me and say, hey, she has no food, they happen to show up the day that I'm on my way to the grocery store, just haven't made it out the door yet, they're going to say, I don't have any food in my cabinets. So, I can see where they would use that. But these children, we have to save these kids. Is the fight still going on, or is there anything we can do to help?
No, the fight is not going on any longer. I've got what I wanted, and that was a termination and dissolution of the CPS, and it was announced in August of 2011, and a termination of their funding. And there was a federal sting from the East Coast to the West Coast arresting doctors and pharmacists. The first case that I heard of was in Florida, where they arrested 150 doctors and pharmacists for selling these black box drugs to the CPS, and it's ongoing. They're still auditing, and like I'm saying, they're auditing them back to approximately about 40 years of this theft that they created.
Wow. Well, I wish you luck. Now, do you have your children with you today?
Well, the issue wasn't just me; it was the issue with all the children of the entire United States. So the importance was to go ahead and stop this unlawful drugging of these children and to stop the funding. I appeared on the show, and the Power Hour commentator was Joyce Riley, and she asked me what my goals were, and this was about 2010 April, and I said my goal was to dissolve the CPS, and she said that was impossible. In August of 2011, it was announced by 2 federal representatives that the CPS was dissolved, and also the CASA was dissolved. they don't get any federal funding any longer, period. And they have to repay everything that they cheated by fraud the Social Security Administration. So they are in debt, and all these states are in bankruptcy now because of that.
Wow, but they did pay it.
I only understood that there are only 14 states able to pay. This is the first audit in 2011, but there's more audits ongoing.
Okay, but the drug administrating to the children has stopped.
The administrating payments of federal funding to stop, but now the states have curtailed their way to give these children under their care because they're getting pharmaceutical kickbacks, and they're doing it with the state, period, now.
Wow. Oh, man, that's not good. Now, see, I didn't really get into a lot of this with you. Is what's freaking me out is because, these poor children, they need a voice. And is there any way that it's regulated to make sure that they're not trying new drugs on them that come on the market?
The only way it could be done is if the people make the complaints and reports to the federal departments. So they can get down. Because last time I read under the FBI's federal crimes against children that was in there, any of those crimes can be reported if known. But as far as anything goes, now they're getting kickbacks and they're making their excess money with the pharmaceuticals because they're getting paid for this to continue to exist.
So, White Eagle, what were these black box drugs used for? Were they used to treat ADD, depression, bipolar disorder? What were these drugs originally prescribed for? And this way our viewers can get a better idea of maybe if their kids were involved in a situation where they were prescribed a drug they really didn't need or that was black box.
Stated depression, usually they get, if they're under depression or if they got violent, they went ahead and used them to calm them down. And they dumbed down these children to go ahead and just be like zombies. There were different reasons we gave for this.
Okay, but depression, let's talk about that. The child is stripped away from their home. They're put into a strange, to me, I'm going to call it a compound, because that's exactly what it is when you take a child from their home and put them in something like that. They're placed in a center. They're told they're going to win the bathe, win the wash, all this. They're taken from their parents. Wouldn't you think depression would set in? They caused that depression they were treating.
Exactly.
With the black box drugs.
Yes, they separated my children in violation of the state statutes and the federal statutes and the Native American Indian statutes. Title 25 USC 1901. They separated them in violation of that, and they went ahead and, of course, yes, my children became depressed. So they immediately started drugging them, and they drugged babies at the age of 2 weeks old to start because they cried too much. Well, they're depressed, so they drugged them at that time. And
they were taken from their parents.
Exactly. I'm talking babies that they started drugging, prescribing drugs, and they prescribe
little babies in diapers that lay in a baby bed. That age.
Exactly. And
man.
At anywhere from 5 to 15 drugs per child.
Oh wow. So that's what I'm saying. A child is going to act out in different ways. If a child has been taken from their parent, and I'm just throwing this out there, and tell me if I'm wrong, White Eagle, you're going to have depression in a child. You're going to have a child who acts out. You're going to have a child who, because I'm dealing with it now with my granddaughter. She's 7 years old, okay? With everything she's been through, she makes a squeak sound. Sometimes I have to get on her and say, well, stop the squeaking. But she's been through so much, and abandonment issues, this is, like the doctor said, this is two parts of her brain. She has so much that she's trying to think about that she's going to do this. It's a behavior issue. We fix the problem that's bothering her without drugs, and it will fix the squeak. Why couldn't they take that with this place they place these children, the center they place these children, and think about, you took these children from their families, from their parents they loved, and felt secure. You stripped away their security. You stripped away everything that they knew, and they're going to have behavior problems. They're going to have depression problems. A baby's going to cry if they don't feel their mommy's chest, being held to their mother's chest. And then they turn around, they take these black box drugs, and they stick them in these poor babies and children. That's just unlawful. That is wrong. I'm sorry. It's wrong. And I hope you're keeping an eye on it. I really do, White Eagle, because you're their hero. Not only for your children, but for them children. And I appreciate everything that you've done. We placed your website in chat here so people can go and read and learn about what these children have been through and what White Eagle has done for these children. And do you make sure that your children, can you find out any way, shape, or do you keep an eye on, if they're not having drugs put in them? How are you making sure your children is not being treated that way no more?
You know, they aged out and they left there, but like I'm saying is, what this departments were doing throughout the states was grooming children to become drug addicts.
Wow.
They were groomed to be drug addicts as soon as they age out. They go to the streets and they start using drugs, period. And that's what they're all about. And then the government still makes money, period.
Creating more people who are dependent on the system in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you. Wow. I had such wrong.
They can't emotionally cope. And furthermore, the initial charges was educational neglect. Well, I was a homeschooler, registered in Santa Fe as a homeschooler. Been a homeschooler for quite a few years. And also had paid for a home tutor. And she was an assistant to me. And she would also give supplemental education for my children. The citation they gave me was educational neglect. Well, there's no such thing as educational neglect. If you're taking your child to a public school, they can cite you for educational neglect if he's not attending regularly or if he's missing too much longer. Then they imprison the parent to get them on the ball to control their child. The other issue...
go ahead.
The other issue is a homeschooler doesn't come under that. There's no such law as educational neglect. Well, they cited me, they took care of my children. They were supposed to take care of my children all the way through junior high, high school, and it turned out that none of my children graduated. None of them came out with a diploma. None of them showed any education within them. They didn't teach them anything whatsoever. And as far as anything goes, the guilty party for educational neglect was the state.
Yeah, exactly. I'm agreeing with you there.
A lot of people aren't aware. They get $300 a day per head per child. And that's how they make their money. And that's the reason why they don't like homeschoolers. But the issue is, too, is if you want to check into statistics, homeschoolers are top 50 of the United States pass the highest honors of testing above children that go to public school. Because they get that.
Yeah, but see, people that homeschool, the government's coming after them right now, White Eagle, because they don't think children should be homeschooled. They can't regulate the children that way. And this all falls back with our fallen children who grew up to be people with problems and against, doing things against the law or getting stuck on drugs or prostitution are not making themselves something in this world. I'm going to blame the government. I'm sorry. Because our states have let our children down. I know for a fact I'm sitting with a child right now that the Missouri has let her down. And I'm angry over it. I'm mad. And it's just frustrating because these children get no justice. And then they turn out to be a bigger problem when they grow up. And that's not fair. And I'm not saying all children. Let me quote myself. Not all. But what you went through, the tyranny of that, just my heart hurts for you and your wife. It really does. And I applaud what you're doing. And you took on the legal system and went to court and you won your cases, correct?
Yeah, I prevailed on the case because everyone got in trouble. Everyone has to go to prison that were involved. They did get away and they lost their livelihood. The attorneys that had the firm, they're supposed to do a proper representation for me, failed to do so. But I set them up with a lot of documentations, letter writing, because I knew what they had to do and what they didn't do. So I did a setup on them, and that's what took their firm out, their licenses, because they were supposed to be representing me. Instead, they were helping the other side, the CPS. Actually, the state of New Mexico calls it the CYFD.
The CYFD.
Yes, okay, that's Children and Youth Department. Family, Children, Youth Department.
Okay. And you say your children are grown now?
They're grown? Yes. And as far as I know, they're on drugs.
Oh, man. And see, that's what scares me when you hear people say, you have teachers, public school teachers especially, they call and they tell you, I need to speak with you, and your child is misbehaving in class. And this was with my oldest son. He was a hyper little child, okay? He just had a lot of energy in him. Very extraordinary smart. And the school teacher was more or less trying to tell me that my child needed to be on something that would calm him down. He wasn't disrupting the class. That would make him, and these are the words she used, I swear, submissive to my teaching. And I told her I'm not putting my children on a drug. They're your responsibility when they're here. When they come home, they're mine. And I didn't put him on any drugs. He's not a drug addict today. He does no drugs. He's served in the Navy and the Army. But the one that I did, I was, when I was pregnant with, I was treating myself for an ulcer. He's a different story. When I was pregnant with him on up to 6 months, I didn't even know I was pregnant. And yes, it does happen, women. And I took drugs for an ulcer. The doctor said I had an ulcer instead of a fetus. And to this day, he was in special classes, and it does happen. What you're saying is happening. Your children are on drugs now. And this state caused it to happen. That's what's sad. And I just applaud everything you do. I really do. White Eagle, my heart goes out to you and your wife. And I hope you know that. And Rage, is there any questions you want to ask White Eagle?
Well, at the time, I was a single parent, and so I didn't have a wife. And the wife had abandoned me and the children, and I took care of the children. And that's why I was still homeschooling. And what happened was I had to undergo all that by myself in the court situation. And so, like I'm saying, it was like kind of like just picture yourself with your child, your children that you took care of for a number of years, and all of a sudden somebody coming in, just grabbing them, taking them away from you, and filing a falsified complaint against you. Even some of the attorneys I contacted up in Albuquerque that night felt they wrote letters that they were very wrong in breaking into my house and just grabbing my children and taking off with them.
Actually, sir, I wouldn't want to imagine that. I probably would not have been as well as calm as you probably were. I would have been angry. I would have acted out irrationally. I would have been emotional and done some very, very horrible things because, parents love their kids, and being calm, cool, and collective about my children is not exactly my forte. I tend to get a little livid just to play it nice. We'll say I get livid sometimes. I'm passionate about my children. I'm sure I wouldn't have been as calm in a station as you were, or as even rational thinking as you were, as to come up with the concept that you did to fight back. I would have went about it in a more brutish manner. Well, thank God someone like you has thought about this and had the foresight to see how to do this. I'm glad you're able to actually tell us how we can actually fight back now, because of your experiences. I'm sorry you had to go through it, but I'm glad that your experiences are here to teach us.
Well, the other issue is if you got 8 or 10 officers inside your house with guns, well, you don't have much to battle. In other words, you don't have anything to battle. There's no question you're not going to argue against somebody with guns.
I will. Liberty or freedom. That's the way I'd be about it. Well, liberty or death or liberty, isn't it? I don't know.
Then the like I'm saying is furthermore, they went ahead and took my herbs, and the officer in court on record stated he took my herbs and never paid me for them and never returned them. That's called theft. without a warrant.
And you researched and studied law for how many years?
Over 17 years.
Wow. So 17 years is a long time to get a lot of law, put into your head there. And it's a corporation, White Eagle. It's a corporation when they can take children, and like you said, 303, and this is going to sound like cattle, and I'm not trying to make it sound like that, please, people out there, Chad, but $300 a head, and that's a child's head. That's what I'm saying. And then to use these experimental drugs, oh man, I mean, they don't have to go, and I've seen people do it. They go and sign this little thing. They're going to be locked up for about 7 days, taking these experimental drugs and making this much money. They don't have to pay that out. So, and then plus they make a deal with the center to do what they did. And this is so wrong. Children are innocent, and I'm so glad you took the fight, and I'm so glad that you did what you did. And everyone on this panel, I'm sure they will agree with me that we all have, you have our heart. It's just devastating to what happens to children, and now they're grown and they have issues, and our world is just getting screwed up more and more, and it's a shame. So, is there anything you want to say more on this subject?
Oh yeah, I went ahead and had I got access to a secret tape, so I went ahead and taped these individuals with a recorder concealed in my boot, and then I also had a amplified microphone, and I acted almost like not Beretta, but the other individual that got kind of dumb and asked questions and sometimes repeat questions, and I had them on tape. And I used them on this recorder to turn into the feds everything that I was able to acquire. I showed every state violation, multiple federal violations, and all that's needed to dissolve their funding was to go ahead and just find one violation to take it. But I had better than 60 different types of state and federal violations of crimes that they committed, plus their own admissions on tape and confessions. Plus, I had other witnesses, and whenever I went to court, they would deprive me of the right to allow my witnesses to come and testify on my behalf. Everything was just an abuse of myself, and I alleged discrimination of the court. And then even the judge himself said he didn't want to hear the word Indian in his court. So, like I'm saying, is that's the type of court proceeding I was involved. And then when I got the newspapers came in. Then I summoned the federal departments, the different people in the different federal departments, U.S. Attorney's Office, a federal judge, a Native American, and then also the FBI, and then the Marshal's Office. I summoned them, and they all made their appearances at the state court, and the state court individual, the judge, and the guardian ad litem were kind of frightened. They showed fear and wondered why these federal representatives were there. Well, it's because I summoned them, and I also used the newspapers and went all over the newspapers all over the states, and then hit world news. And I flew to Iowa to go ahead and do a YouTube, which you can have access to and see. I'm on the YouTube, and I gave my story there from beginning to almost the end, but that was just the start. And like I'm saying, is then the papers came in, and there are only two papers that would publicize this at the time. Yeah, actually one paper, and then the second paper, the story just went all over the states. And every newspaper around, and it went. It's my case, and that newspaper is from all the way from President Obama to all the way down in every congressman's site, every state senator's site. It's in every Native American Indian site, and it's in even the CASA itself was the CASA the CASA that was supposed to be aiding the people, which was not. They lost their federal funding also. The International of the CPS lost their funding. That was because of the work that I'd done. But that was because of the abuse and substance abuse that they're doing on the children, using these black box drugs, and also the cheating, the fraud they committed against the Social Security Administration and the taxpayers, all of us.
Wow. And I mean, the damage has not been done. I mean, you did some hard work, and you really put yourself out there. and your children are grown. And from what you're telling me, look now. Look at the outcome of what they've done.
Well, what's happening right now is that federal sting is going from all the way from one side of the states to the other side of the states, and they're filing charges against every doctor and every pharmacist that issued these black box drugs and sold them to the CPSs. And a lot of them go to prison. And like I'm saying, is the last issue I put a sheriff and his wife in jail for kidnapping my daughter and transporting her across state lines, taking her out of school. And he's pending, his trial's pending on the criminal charges. On the other county, I went ahead and filed charges for racial profiling, another sheriff, and his second man got put in the federal facility in El Paso, and the second man that initially arrested me as under racial profiling. It's about 35 years, and he, as far as I know, hasn't gotten out of prison yet.
Wow, you've done a lot. Oh man, I mean, you've done more than half of us would have done, and I am just blown away at this story because it's very intriguing, and it just. If people would go to the sites that we're posting on this chat, guys, read this stuff. And you've heard what White Eagle has said. And these children, they suffered. And now they're grown children, and God only knows the outcome.
I had many of the children that were in the system and put on these medications, they still suffer to this day. They're put into a position where they are predisposed to addictions to man-made chemicals, and which actually leads us into another subject we have with you here, Mr. White Eagle. Word is you are a shaman and a healer, and actually I'm very interested into this because my grandfather himself was a medicine man and a healer, and it is part of my culture, and I would love to hear about that as well.
Before we move on, I do want to say that my mom was given a choice, and she chose to have me put in special ed, have me put on Ritalin for so many years, and then after those so many years, for a while, I was on Adderall, I was on lithium, I was on Depakote, and I was on a few others, which I cannot remember at this time. But yeah, this black box stuff in the 90s, this stuff was real. Me personally being a victim of that, and now I wonder why I'm so messed up sometimes and make so many mistakes. Right, even right here on the channel, I make a lot of mistakes, spelling errors. I believe I had a stroke back in November, 2 days before Thanksgiving, but enough about me. Let's continue on. Please take the floor, somebody.
Okay. Well, White Eagle, like Ray says, you are a medicine man. And I'm going to tell the story first. I'm not taking it, but I am a witness to what he can do. We were on the phone one night, me and White Eagle, and he can tell that I wasn't feeling good and I couldn't breathe. I sat down at the kitchen table and I did everything he told me to. And he worked from where he was. As I'm on the phone with him, I'm breathing like he told me to breathe, through my nose and out my mouth. He did what he did. I could not see what he was doing at his home, but he was coming to me in spirit and healing me. I got up, my husband walked into the kitchen, and I said, I moved the phone from my face. I said, I can actually breathe. I'm feeling better. The tightness in my chest went away. I just told him how good I was feeling. Before that phone call, I kept putting him off because I had my little girl laying on the couch with me. She had a fever. We had just taken them to the doctors, and she wasn't feeling good, and she's a mommy. She wants a mommy when she don't feel good. And I was laying there. She was sweating. She was hot. She was fever. She wasn't feeling good, crying on and off. We finally tucked him in their beds. I got a chance to call him. After he was done healing me, and yes, he did, guys, and this is not a lie, he told me to go in there to my children, each one of them. He worked through me. I closed my eyes and released all energy. I put everything I had in my head out of my head and did what he told me to do. And I am Native American, so I knew how to work with this. I put my hand on their forehead. White Eagle worked through me from where he's at, guys. And this is real. You're never known for me to give you a lot of bull S, okay? BS. I put my hand on their foreheads, each of them at a time. As I did the first child, as he's doing what he's doing, I can start feeling her cooling down. She's soaking wet from sweat. I can start feeling her cooling down. When I said the fever's gone. I was flipping. I was like, oh, I can't believe this. I'm not full-blooded Native American, but I have enough. I am half Cherokee. So he told me, okay, go to the next job. I went to the next job. I put my hand on her forehead. She's burning up. Whatever he did, he worked through me. And you have to have your mind clear. You have to submit to what White Eagle is doing for you. My hand was on her forehead. My husband's a witness. My children are a witness. My hand is on her forehead. Whatever he did, where he's at, while I was on the phone with him, he worked through me, and her fever went away. I am telling you, this guy is serious. He's real.
This is the stuff of miracles, but it's real. It really is.
So what I'm saying is,
before Clovis, my grandfather was a medicine man and a shaman. I myself I'm half Aleut or Aleutian, and I believe strongly in some of this stuff. And I've seen people work wonders. And when I myself talk to White Eagle, and I think that he's a good guy. He's doing as best he can, and I want to hear him try to explain some of the meditation concepts of his that help us heal ourselves as well as heal others.
Right. And White Eagle asked me to be a witness for him. That's why I told my story.
I understand.
He also, right, and he also has brought a guest with him tonight. Would you like to introduce your guest, White Eagle?
Yeah, this is Oshana, my wife here.
Hello, Oshana.
Hi. I personally met White Eagle 3 years ago, and I had practiced Western medicine for many, many years. And it was when I had exhausted all that I could that I decided to go back to my native roots and explore holistic medicine. And my condition was that I had degenerative disc disease so bad that 8 of my discs no longer showed up on an MRI. And because my spine was just literally just rotting away, I had a horrific nerve damage. And I was diagnosed with a condition called RSD, and it's where your nerve endings go in sympathy mode and create an electrical storm within your body. And so it feels like you're being stung by bees all over your body, and you get hot spots on your skin from the nerve pain being so severe. And I was also losing the use of my right leg. It had withered, and I was losing tissue mass, and I suffered horrifically from neuropathy. And I was on morphine, I was on hydrocodone, I was on maximum doses of Neurontin. You talk about 20 different prescriptions. And the other part I add was, when you deal with chronic pain, I was a chronic smoker. I was smoking over a pack a day. And especially when you're dealing with chronic pain, you smoke a lot because you can't sleep, you can't lay down, and I tell people the process that he put me through was so amazing. It was a lot of spiritual baths that I started with, and it got all the detox out of my system. All the prescriptions were detoxified out of my system, but what was so amazing, even the nicotine. So I was able to get off of those hardcore drugs and the cigarettes all at the same time. I never had cravings. And I was under the care of a pain management specialist because of the potency of the drugs I was on. And he said, you will have a stroke trying to get off those drugs the way you intend to do so. And I didn't go through that horrific detox because I was on maximum doses of hydrocodone and morphine. And I had been on that drug for so many years that where I was at in life was when you're on morphine for as many years as I was, your organs start shutting down. You literally have metastasized cancer. That's what morphine does to your body. And so I didn't have much to lose, is what I tell people. And and I didn't want to go out the way they wanted me to go out. I had already suffered for well over 8 years and could not imagine, letting them, just basically cook my body and cut me up until there was nothing left. And so I finally decided to do it my way. And so glad I did, because I now have a second chance of life. But a lot of it is spiritual, and I'll explain this. The natives realize that emotional pain can manifest disease within your body. And I was abused as a child and went through a lot of trauma, but also it was having a very unstable family that just stayed a part of my life for many years, that brought me a lot of misery and stress. And, I had a drug addict brother that just really put me through the ringer. And when you live with that kind of stress and trauma, you make yourself sick. You literally make yourself sick. And so what a medicine man does that's so amazing is that they heal your physical body. And one amazing story that I tell people was I had an ovary that was just so full of cancer. And that was after I had been through about 5 days of spiritual bathing. And that's where you're in there for 4 to 5 hours or 6 hours each day. And you're praying and you're meditating. And these herbal baths, these recipes date back to the ancient Egyptian eras. And this is the recipes that White Eagle works with. And so, I was feeling good, but I was still having a lot of pain in one ovary. And I was, the only thing I really did suffer with was some diarrhea. Of course, my body was purging all those prescriptions. And I was getting a little dehydrated. And so he told me, he goes, I'm going to have to come work on you in spirit. And I had done so much research before I met him because I wanted to make sure he was real. I didn't want to get rooked. So I had done a great deal of research, and he answered a lot of my questions, so I knew he was the real deal. But that night, or I guess it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, I just felt kind of a pain in my side, and I sat up in the bed, and it was as if I could hear him in my mind. And he said, lay down and be still. And I went, wow, okay. And so I laid down, and it was as if I was so relaxed. I went into a semi-paralyzed state. But I was in no pain. I was completely relaxed. And it feels like when they work on your body from the spiritual realm, it feels like a digital scanner going across your belly. And I was telling a lady about it the next day. She goes, yeah, I've heard they leave red marks. And I said, yes, I had a few, and then they were gone within 24 hours. But what was so amazing, I mean, my whole abdomen was full of cancer, okay? But that next morning after I awoke, I had absolutely no more pain. And my energy, I had been so dehydrated, and I was weak. I mean, I was dying when I met him, so I was extremely weak. And but that next day, it was like my energy was up, and from that moment on, I never looked back. And to this day, I don't take any medications. I'm strictly all holistic medicine. I take herbs and supplements daily, and I don't even get colds or anything. And I used to get pneumonia once a year. I used to deal with chronic sinus infections and you name it. And I don't get sick at all anymore. But what's so important, though, is now you have to come full circle. After you've gone through a physical healing, you have to go through a spiritual healing. And it's where you really go deep within yourself. And what I'd realized, especially about my, when you're a child and you go through abandonment and all of that, you over so many years, you have a way of turning that hurtful pain into resentment. As you get older, you get mad, and as you look back on your life, and that it's those negative emotions that the natives believe can make you sick. And the best way I can explain this is, for example, diabetes to the natives means you've lost the sweetness in your life. And so therefore you've created a weakness in the aura of your body, and so a parasite has gotten into your pancreas. And that's true because a lot of diabetics lose their vision. And to a native Indian, to lose your vision means you've lost the ability to see joy in your future. And so it encourages you to really go deep within yourself and take a look at what in your life has got you to this point. And we're all given free will choice. So what are you going to do to change it? What are you going to do to fix this? And it really encourages you to heal from within, but also to live life differently. You start living, you make changes, and it's a spiritual journey. It's called the native way of a spiritual journey, and it's a very spiritual process, but it's very beautiful because you almost become childlike again. You just literally heal in so many beautiful ways of any emotional trauma or, you know, even from bad relationships, whatever. It's learning to, in a time of darkness, to find the lesson to be learned and find the light, and so that you don't harbor that negative energy and hang on to it. But during the process, you realize just how many times in your life you truly were the creator of your own misery. And this, let me explain this about medicine men so people might understand this a little bit better too. Medicine men have been on a very spiritual journey for a very long time. And it's where a spiritual journey is where you learn to go within yourself and see the darkness you carry within yourself. If it be jealousy or anger or resentment or revenge, whatever, and you learn to replace it with love, compassion, humility, grace. You learn to walk in the image of our Creator. And when you've been on this spiritual journey as many years as White Eagle has, and you've learned to rid judgment and anger and all of that from your life, well, on this journey, you earn spiritual gifts. If it be visions or he's very clairvoyant. He can pick up what's going on in your head and all kinds of crazy things. But these are spiritual gifts from our Creator. And so when you've been on this spiritual journey and you truly are walking in the image of our Creator, when you walk in the highest of love and compassion, that's where you receive the gifts as a healer. And that's where the energy he was passing through you is energy that comes from our universal Creator. And so I get real upset, especially when some people misunderstand or they'll call a medicine man a witch doctor. I said, oh, you're so wrong. They're anything but. It's because they truly practice these beliefs that have been passed down. Well, our tribes are the lost tribes of Israel. So these are old, ancient beliefs and teachings. But that's why he is such a powerful healer. It's because he walks in this highest state of love and compassion and grace. And that's how they acquire these amazing gifts of healing. And so hopefully that explains things a little bit better for people to understand how they come to receive these gifts. And I always think of the scripture in the Bible that says, learn to walk in the supernatural with the Creator. And that's exactly what they do. They understand the mysteries of the universe, which everything is energy. And even the very words we speak carry energy. And so the native belief is that when you dwell on someone with angry thoughts or anger, you're cursing that person, and that you can actually make that person sick. And I thought about that, and because I was raised as a Christian, and I really had to toil with a lot of that. But I said, that's kind of true, because then I found out that the word curse was in the Bible over 200 times. And so the spiritual journey is part of that. It really makes you go deep within yourself. And part of mine was all the times I blamed my mom for everything. And we do that when we're hurt. We like to blame others rather than taking responsibility for our own actions or, So it just really makes you go deep within yourself and see how much negative energy or negative emotions you carry within yourself. And it's learning to rid your life of those and replace it with love and humility. And you find that when you start living in that way, you become so much happier. You find contentment in your life. And you start living your life to the very fullest. And so you learn to get rid of your own depression. I suffered horrifically for many years from real deep depression, and because of my illness and everything else. And so it's amazing how your body even heals itself from the depression, and you just start living life to the very fullest. And even if it means standing up, that's another belief, is if you know truth but you choose not to stand for truth, then it makes you just as guilty as those committing the crime. And so, we live our life with that motto that if we see corruption or evil, or we're going to go for it. And I even found that in the scriptures. And so it's all very biblical. And I found it very beautiful, actually, how the religions of Christianity plus the native way are very similar in so many ways. But I even saw that the scriptures in the Bible started coming alive for me. And I finally understood them at a depth that I never understood before while I was attending church. And so it's a very beautiful process, and it's one of just tremendous belief.
Can we ask you a question? For a person to be healed, they actually have to submit to be healed. Is that correct?
Correct. A medicine man can bring the physical healing. He can get rid of the pain and the disease and the negative energy that you're carrying from holding so much emotional pain within your body. He can eliminate all of that.
I have
but
a
if
question.
If you don't heal yourself spiritually, you're going to eventually, that's why some people get their cancer back in 7 years or 4 years, or why others, it goes into submission, they never get cancer again. It's because of their mindset. They change something in their life. And that's it. And that's exactly why. If you don't change anything about yourself, you're going to get sick all over again.
Right. You have to be willing to change yourself, and you have to be willing to submit to the healing that he is offering for it to work, I feel.
And when if you decide to take a native spiritual journey, that's what we call starting a shaman's journey, is where you walk away from your old life to become someone new. And that is in regards to walking away from the life of materialism and possessions. I was working in a Fortune 100 financial industry, making a 6-digit income, had a very prestigious career and title, but I was absolutely a miserable soul inside. And you get to that point when when you're paying, it's just this, the way the governments operate today, they keep us all in survival mode. And, where it's, we live in the laws of the jungle, where it's survival of the fittest. And, and I had a big, beautiful home, but I felt like everything I was making was being sucked out of me. I was just constantly paying insurance and taxes, and, it's just, and then you finally just wake up one day and go, what was all of this for? My children are grown, and I'm a miserable soul, and I'm here with this big house, and it's just sucking every ounce of life from my body. And so you really have to be at that crossroad, too, in your life where it's a very beautiful journey, but it's one of walking away from that old life. And I mean, it's really letting go of those things that brought you so much stress and misery, and just wanting more out of life, just wanting, you just want to go back to that point in your life when you were younger, when you had all your dreams and of if it was wanting to travel or whatever the case may be, and you go back and you start pursuing those dreams. Once you get healed and you get a second chance of life, because that's what White Eagle does for people. He gives them a second chance of life. And so I tell people I don't watch television. I'm just not gonna sit on a couch, watching a flat screen TV anymore. I've lived my life in a whole completely different way, and I live it to the fullest. And I spend it doing projects that help humanity, and that's part of our the native healing journey as well. And but that's what he does for people. It's I can say I've seen so many healings that he's done, and he's helped people get rid of their diabetes. I've seen him help people and keep them from getting on, they were like 2 hours away from going on dialysis. And he healed a man who was so sick in the hospital with kidney failure. And after White Eagle got done with him, he was down in Mexico dancing at a wedding, we heard, a week later. I'm not kidding. There was a gentleman who had a flesh-eating bacteria that was literally eating into his brain, and they had done all they could for him. He was not responding to antibiotics, and White Eagle had him healed within 5 days. But what White Eagle picked up about this gentleman was that he was so angry, and he was told, your anger is eating you to your very core. And he goes, you're right. And so, with his gifts, while he's talking to people, he has these sensing gifts, and he starts picking up where they're at in their personal life and what's going on. And then he starts giving them spiritual guidance, and he nails it every time. He does exactly, or a couple, you're fighting too much with your wife, that constant negative energy. And I guess especially since we're talking about children, I want to talk about this too, because people don't understand that, especially if they're fighting in the home a lot. It's the native belief that you can make your children sick because it's considered a transfer of energy. Everything is of energy, even the words we speak, how he put energy through your hands. Energy, everything is made of energy. And so that energy can pass down to the weakest links of your spiritual ties, which is your children.
Yeah.
And so it's important to keep a very balanced home. And I've been thinking about this a lot because he's getting people call him where there's 12-year-old little girls with dying of pancreatic cancer. And I tell him, I said, well, when that couple gets here, I need to talk to them because we need to find out why a 12-year-old child has lost the sweetness in life.
Yeah.
I said, and a lot of it's our broken educational systems and, everything else, but also a lot of it is parents are letting technology be a glorified babysitter for these kids, and there's no human contact, and you can't replace love. Love is the most ultimate power of the universe, and there's just no human interaction for a lot of these kids. They spend too much time on video games or movies, and so I really encourage people to just really evaluate their lives and how much human interaction they're given to their children or their grandchildren, because that's so important in these times. And but right now, people go, well, why is there so much sickness and suffering in the world? And I said, I don't know. Maybe this is God's way of showing us what it is exactly we've done to one another through our anger or, or jealousy. And so it's time that we all really, I tell people that we must change ourselves, and to change the world, we must allow change to begin within all of us. And the beautiful thing is Mother Earth is responding in a very negative way right now because our lands are unbalanced, but also we as people are very unbalanced. And when we start healing ourselves, Mother Earth starts healing. And people don't understand there's a very powerful connection between us and Mother Earth and how she responds, because we're like children in a womb. And so the native belief is very beautiful, but it shows that we're all one family. And so we need to You know, governments like to divide us as people by the color of our skin or by gender or religion or politics, and we need to learn to just put all that aside and be respectful of each other's beliefs, but just, you know, come together out of love. And
Right.
and so that's kind of the native belief. And it's really, and people go, is that it? And I said, it's really that simple. It's learning to just choose to love rather than choosing to be angry, or it's learning to be very disciplined with your emotions. It's learning, for example, if you see someone who's being a real ass and angry, or you learn to smile and give that person your love and your compassion, because you've got to remember when you were on that path and you were just like them. But you learn to not allow those people to bring that disharmony and that anger into your life. You learn to be very protective of your peace. And it's a learning to stop being so emotional. Because when we allow ourselves to go in that emotional state, we can bring a lot of sickness into our body. So it's learning to be what the natives call spiritually clean. Learning to live in that highest vibration of love and compassion. You know, we're human. There's going to be some times we might just push each other a little too far. But then there's things that we do. We smudge with sacred plants like sage. And the reason why you do that in your home is to clear that negative energy out so it doesn't hang around, because everything is of energy. One thing that White Eagle teaches many, many people, one of his clients of the day, she says, you know, my pain is gone, but at night when I go to bed, my back starts hurting real bad again. I get up during the day and it goes away. He goes, you've got a spiritual impression in your bed. And he tells her to make a mixture of like vinegar and a little bit of few drops of bleach and water and spray your bed every day. And she did, and she goes, it's gone. It's gone. You know, he understands the energy of the universe and how it works. And he's taught me how to sense energies, and I'm an empath. And he taught me, I was getting back pain in a chair, and he goes, stand up. He goes, do you feel it now? And I said, no. He goes, whoever was sitting in that chair before you left their back pain there. And it's true. We spray our cars. You know, if I had a hip that might have been, you know, or I had a kidney infection, I have to be sure and spray the seat of my truck, because it'll leave an energy impression. People don't understand how energy transfers. And so it's that's a big part of what they teach. And, you know, even in the Bible, it says in the end times, you must keep up your senses. Well, we know how to sense energy. I can even sense, and he's phenomenal at it. But we can sense the emotions of people. We can tell if they're angry or being deceitful. But White Eagle has such amazing gifts. It's like, I call him like Superman, because when he senses a person's aura, he can literally get visions of what's inside their body. If it be a tumor or a blood clot, or, you know, he is probably, and people who have gone through lab work or x-rays, and he'll sense them first, and they are just totally amazed at how accurate and even more thorough his gifts are than medical technology.
Now, he has offered for me to bring my 7-year-old child to you guys this summer, and for healing. And he will tell you more about this. He probably already has what she's been through. And I didn't know that when a child is abused in that way, that demons enter them, and which could be a lot of her problems. And he said he would have to see her in person to heal her of this. And we said we would, and I talked to my husband, and he said, yes, we will take her this summer. We will have a summer vacation, and we'll come up there with her. And I would like to meet you too. You're just extraordinary people. But now he has a site. Is it up yet where he sells his herbs? And
yeah,
if people purchase the herbs, will they need instructions from him? Will it come with instructions? Those are the kind of things I want my viewers to know.
With very thorough descriptions of what the products do, but we put a place there where if they want a consultation, he charges $125 for. That's a very thorough consultation where he does a full body scan and then he'll talk with them and tell them what they've got going on, and plus he starts picking up, what their emotional state might be that's causing these problems, and then he puts together a list of what herbs will eradicate the problems, and he's real big on getting your immune system strong, and so he does a lot of supplements and gets the person very strong. I mean, gets your energy way up, and because you need that higher immune system to fight the disease, and then also we try to teach people about going on alkaline diets, and because an alkaline body is a disease-free body, and then we're going to be adding more and more.
Explain to people what an alkaline diet is.
Well, it's getting rid of acidic. Our bodies, the foods we eat are too acidic, and that's where disease grows. Replacing, a lot of dark green vegetables, fresh organic vegetables, bringing a lot of nuts into your diet, oils, coconut oil, olive oils, drinking fruits, lots of fruits. We do a lot of juices, high energy juices, and we've also been making herbal teas and things like that. But it's a way of life. I explain to people that holistic medicine, it becomes a way of life. Once you get a second chance of life, and that old myth, well, I hurt because I'm getting older, that's a bunch of crock. Because I even had an arthritic ankle and a knee that they kept telling me they needed to cut on, and I didn't do it. And I don't suffer from that pain, all that arthritis and stuff. And I'd had a surgery when I was 18, and the arthritis was getting so bad they were wanting to go back in and scrape it out, and he got rid of all that. So, so you literally become childlike again. I'm 52 and I'm bouncing around like a young kid. And so I tell people don't fall into that they tell you it's just because you're getting older. You do have so it becomes a way of life. Once you start feeling that grand again, and you're doing things you haven't done in years, it's worth making the changes, and it just takes a little bit of discipline and so forth. And I'm trying to learn that self-control because I'm a little heavy, but it takes some self-control, but we're working on it. But it's just learning to eat better and eat those high energy foods that make you feel fantastic, and learning how to cook to where it has flavor. And so it is truly, and we take herbs every day, because they build your energy. It's all about keeping your energy high and keeping your immune system strong, and also just managing your emotion. And when you do that, White Eagle has no pain and he doesn't get sick ever. And so, but he's been doing this for many, many, many years, and so it's amazing. And he's got the energy of a teenage boy. I'm not kidding you. It's hard to keep up with him.
Okay, now we're having people asking questions. They're getting a little bit anxious here. They're wanting questions asked, so I don't mean to cut you off. You guys can answer their questions. It could be you or White Eagle. We're going to go ahead and try to open the phone lines. Nanya did ask the question. She can hear you, or he can hear you, and I don't think he's going to call in because he usually types his questions. The question was, if a shaman can transfer a sickness to a person they deem as evil to, for instance, shorten a lifespan. What the heck kind of question is that, folks?
Basically, he's asking if this can actually be used both ways, like bad people doing bad things, like the internet was supposed to be good, sometimes it's used for bad, something like that is what he's asking.
That's what black magic is. That's voodoo. That's exactly what they do. That's what medicine men don't do that because they're healers. They're all about love and light. But you've got those people in this world that are practicing in the dark arts. And being a Christian, I was never exposed to that until the last few years, and it's very true. And yeah. And it's in the Bible. It talks about it in the Bible, but that's what we will go through in these end times. It's in prophecy. So it's just basically prophecy being fulfilled. It is a battle of good versus evil.
I am going to say I believe. I trust this man with my health. I trust my children with him. My husband. We are firm believers in this. You don't have to be Indian descent to believe or to trust in him. And did you say that the site is up now or no? I'm sorry, I'm asking you again.
Yes, it is. It's whiteeaglenativeherbs.net.
All right. Now, is there anything else that you want to talk to us about on this specific issue?
Well, I can share an experience I had since you were talking about children. It's more horrific for children, but I had lost a husband about 7 years ago, and during that time I had a surgical procedure where a surgeon sexually assaulted me while I was under anesthesia.
Dear God.
But at that time my husband had committed suicide, and my children were grieving horrifically. And so I couldn't deal with that. It was just more than I could handle. So it was something I just put deep inside of me and just didn't go there. I emotionally just was not able to put any energy there after what we were dealing with. And I tell people I had a very crazy experience when I was doing those spiritual baths in the beginning that White Eagle had me pray and meditate in, and I got the urge to bear down, and as if I was giving birth. And I kept looking in the water, and there was nothing there. And then it passed, and then the second day it happened again, but it wasn't as extreme. And we were talking. I said, it's just a really strange experience. And what it was because I was praying and meditating, it was a negative energy that was being released from my body. And, that's what really, I guess, made me a believer, was within just a couple of days of doing the prayer and the meditation and then these herbal baths. And I had completely, kind of put that out of sight, out of mind. But it was like it was an energy that had been left within my body. And plus just a negative emotion of trauma that I had just tucked deep inside and I had not dealt with. And so that was a pretty amazing experience to go through that. So I thought I'd share that. So yes, it's very real that that negative energy is left behind in something like that. And White Eagle talks about this too, about surgeons. Why some people after surgery have hard times recovering and they have a lot of pain. Well, it's because a surgeon, if they're very angry people or full of darkness, they can leak their negative energy within another person's body. And then you've got other people, after surgery, they heal real nice and they never look back, So that explains a lot of that too. Because everything is of energy, and it's a transfer of energy.
Nunya has asked, is it true that there are visible physical attributes for a shaman or layman to recognize a shaman, or is there attributes for a layman to recognize a shaman when one sees a shaman? For example, the all white eye.
I've had a lot of natives that know me, and just by sensing me, they know who I am, and they can just sense, and they know who I am. And normally, rather than nodding down, they nod up and then down, and that tells you they know who you are.
Questions in chat, or don't forget you can call in by dialing 712-775-7035 with access code 228627, and don't forget to hit the pound.
Also, the call-in number is live on the video stream right now. If you need it, it's also there. It's in big letters, so you can see it quite well. I encourage anyone that has any questions to please call in now.
Yes, Mark White speaking, and she was elaborating on the issues about some of these people carrying after pain. We have to realize there's a lot of people, there's a lot of doctors out there. I get a lot of patients, and they come back with this after pain that's not normal. It's because the physician or surgeon is not spiritually clean. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. A lot of people are sick. They're carrying a lot of negatives. If they start clearing themselves on a regular basis with the clearing bath, what occurs is they start eradicating a lot of this negative that they carry. Because you can touch a person and be full of negative and just leave it right on, the impression right on them, if you understand that. And it can be a lot. It could be pain. It can be illness, sickness, whichever. We've got plagues right now going on. The plagues that are coming from underground, up the old Egyptian plagues. One is leprosy. If one has leprosy and they touch another person, they can put it right on them just by touch. My wife Oshwana was going down the rail, and now I can sense her, and no matter where she's at, and I felt her touching the guardrail coming downstairs, and I felt her touch leprosy. Leprosy was right on her hand. When she came back, I told her, and then she felt it. So, like I'm saying, is there's a lot of things that hang around that are negatives, and that's why it's good and important to always clear yourself with sage or anything that will clear you. There's a lot of different clearing bushes you can use, and the common practice of the native. If you realize a lot of the prophecies of past say that the people will go back to their old ways. The old ways is where it's going to be. And in order to survive, you have to return to the old way. That's clearings. That's clearing yourself in bathing. That's also using herbs. Because, like I'm saying, sooner or later, this country is going to collapse. It's all over the internet, and there's not going to be a government to take care of people with welfare, Social Security. As far as anything goes, that's passing. That's going. There's not going to be medical doctors around because the medical doctors don't have the proper drugs. Nowadays, they said that a lot of the diseases that we've been bombarded with and they're incurring the people are mutant diseases. It was announced approximately over 5 months ago by the doctors that the new leprosy they had no cure for, and they couldn't do anything because it was a mutant disease. It changes. They've been prescribing a lot of antibiotics all over. I get words from different parts of the state. A lot of people are showing up with leprosy, black spots on them, on their face, their lips, their nose, their head. A lot of the scalps are coming off. They're being scalped. Their sex organs are falling off and coming apart. They're being castrated with this new leprosy, and the internal organs are rotting out. And a lot of people aren't even aware of it. I can feel it, but I get a lot of reports. And like I'm saying, this is one thing that they're going to freak out when they start seeing it. But a lot of the people don't know, and not even the doctors know what they have. But as soon as they come to me, I know they got it. I can tell them exactly where it is. A lot of the signs, outward signs, are like itching on your body. If you start itching all over your body, you've got it all over your body inside. And when it starts showing, you've already got it inside, rotting your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your kidneys, your pancreas, your liver. Everything is rotting, even your brain. It goes into the brain. And a lot of the people right now are going blind one eye. And it's going into one eye, moving in the next, and it's actually rotting the eye and rotting the tongue. I had a patient that's been with me over 20 years, a devoted patient, and I called her up and I and I spoke to her. She used to be in Oregon, Ontario, Oregon, when I was in Idaho. And she always called me her angel, guardian angel. Well, I told her, I says, you have a problem in your mouth? And I says, she says, yeah, I went to the doctor for it. And I said, what did the doctor say? The doctor diagnosed it as I ate something bad, he said, that affected me. But I said, also you have, in your crotch, you have a problem there too. She says, I told him about that too, but he said it was something I ate that was bad. I said, well, your doctor lied to you. I said, you've got the leprosy, and it's rotting the internal, your upper portion of your mouth and your tongue and your crotch. So what I did was I used the energy and I reversed everything to renew everything and expel the leprosy just by telephone. Well, this occurred, and everything was reversed. The pain in her mouth and her crotch had dissipated. It was gone, and she felt very well. And that was just one time. I've worked on a different.
We have a question from chat. What's the best way to approach a shaman for treatment? And this is by username Nunya.
I didn't hear the last name.
Well, how does she get a contact?
By going to my site. You can go to my site and or to my email and go ahead and make an appointment. I can do distant consultations. They don't have to come here. I do a lot of them in deep Mexico. Or I did one in the Ukraine not too long ago. Did a healing there, and all they have to do is just go ahead and go to the site and hit my email and send me a message or give me a phone number. Call my phone number. My phone number is 575-910-0849, and leave me a message with your phone number.
Could you tell us that one more time a little bit slower? That way, in case our viewers want to write this down, I'm going to give our viewers about a minute or so to grab a pen and paper. So please grab a pen and paper now if you want to write this down. It's just give them a little second here. I know for some of us it takes a little time to rush and grab a pen and paper. All right, well, if you have a pen and paper, go ahead, Mark White Eagle, with your phone number.
Okay, it's 575-910-0849.
All right, please be advised that some trolls may call you and just disregard them. It's the power of the internet. Trolls will be trolls. Anyway, just giving you a heads up about that now.
Okay, the number again is 575-910-0849.
We have another website. It's thenativespiritway.com. And that's our teaching platform. We're being asked to do seminars and retreats and things like that. But there's a lot of information about what we practice and so forth, a lot more spiritual teaching information on that site, if people are interested. It gives more description of when White Eagle does spiritual clearings, or he even does exorcisms as well. So
I've got a lot of videotapes of healings, healing the blind, healing the crippled, healing the sick, even exorcisms. I've got videotapes that I had taken during the times of these experiences. Also, I did a lot of healings, and I got a lot of photographs of many people coming to see me, up to 300 people a day in Idaho when I was in Idaho several years ago. And like I'm saying, the people know me there very well. I started getting Anglo-Americans infiltrating. I got a lot of Spanish. I got a lot of Native Americans coming to me. And like I'm saying, I had a vast amount of buildup of Anglo-Americans come see me. And like I'm saying, is when they come to see me and they experience what they experience, they know I'm real. When I moved down south to Roswell, New Mexico, I was there approximately 12 years. I ran 15 curanderos out of business because they were scamming the people. They were not real. And I was treating the people with herbs and getting everyone well quickly. The issue is a lot of people don't understand that there's scammers out there. They're on the internet. They're everywhere, and they claim to be healers, and they're not real. And I can usually check them out. We've been to Arizona and other places, and most of the people that call themselves shamans or healers are all sick. Everybody's sick. And like I'm saying, I don't get sick. And none of the plagues touch me, okay? I can feel them, I can sense them, and I know who's got them. They don't jump me. I can feel them close, and they don't touch me. So like I'm saying, the Creator gave me a gift of immunity to these diseases, these major plagues that are here now, because I have to help a lot of people. So like I'm saying, I can't afford to get sick. I get doctors that have come see me. I've had doctors from Dallas. I've had doctors from Fort Worth, Texas. I've had doctors come and experience my medicine and my healings all the way from Sedona, Arizona. And, you know, it's been a regular thing. And I've had patients from those doctors, like from Fort Worth. I had a patient there, and he saw his doctor there, and he says, why, oh, you know a White Eagle? He says, yes, he's good. He says, oh, why didn't you tell me about him? He says, instead of keeping me under your care for 8 months. So I get a lot of different experiences from different patients, and most of the patients I get are from doctors that they can't help them. But normally they get treatment. When they come to see me, I give them exactly what they need, nothing more, nothing less, to get them well. And the results are all positive, always positive. It doesn't matter. And I have a reputation of getting about 100% of the people well. And my criminal complaint that I filed on my site at freethechildren.wordpress.com, I've got one posted where I stated that the pharmaceutical companies was behind the separation of my family. And in that, I said I had medicine that would heal people, and had approximately about 100% of the people that got well that came to see me. And I have references all over the states. I get people from Chicago, Florida, Oklahoma. Sometimes I'll get them from Louisiana. I'll get them from San Francisco, Sacramento, California, Southern, LA, Oregon, Washington. I get them down Texas. I get calls on occasion from Australia, Germany. I get them from England, different parts of Europe. And I've gotten vast amounts of people over the years that have gotten to know me, and the word has spread pretty well, wide and far, that I do get people well and quickly.
All right, we got a question from chat. Rage, would you like to throw that question out there?
Yes, this question was from Commander Zoe. I think I pronounced that right. Commander Zoe. Her question is, does White Eagle ever get up to Port Hall in August if one wanted to meet him there?
I haven't been in Fort Hall for a while. I used to live in Fort Hall at one time. But on the reservation, next to Blackfoot. But like I'm saying is, I don't go there anymore. I wanted to go for quite a while. Last time I was there was several years ago. That's as far as anything goes. But I do, like I said, I can do consultation at distance, and I can go ahead and scan people just even by their photograph, if they send me a photograph. If the gentleman's interested in any type of consultation, if he's got a problem that the doctors feel they're incurable, we can almost do anything that's impossible, as the Creator said to it. Nothing is impossible.
Okay, Rage, Nanya has another question, if you look at it.
Yes, I'm looking at it. Nanya is asking, what is his opinion on wounded healers? An example of that would be psychiatrists.
I didn't get that clear. Repeat that, please.
What is your opinion on wounded healers?
Wounded healers.
Wound healers? Wounded healers. That these people are not spiritually clean, and when you're not spiritually clean, you can't do a true healing on someone. There was, like I'm saying, because you're carrying a lot of negative energy within yourself. And if you're not clear, you're not gonna do anything good for anybody else, because you're passing that negative on to that person you're working on.
Before White Eagle works with people, he will fade. You know, if he's doing clearings on spiritual clearings, he does clearing baths for himself, because you, as a healer, you're going to take in some of the disease or negative energy from the person, so you've got to be able to clean your body off. Because if he was to then just go and try to do a clearing on another person, he would transfer that one person's negative emotion and disease onto the other client. And so it's a very disciplined practice of keeping yourself spiritually clean. And you get a lot of Reiki masters that they want to touch your aura and do all this stuff. And all they're doing is transferring energy. And you'll find that these people are carrying so much disease in their bodies. It's because they're just like a magnet. We've even ran across some natives who are doing sweat lodges, and they're taking in the liver disease from people that they're bringing into their lodge because they don't know how to clear themselves afterwards. And so they're only doing half of the practice. And so actually it's those who are trying to be healers are probably the sickest at the moment, physically sick.
Okay, now I have a question here. I'm just curious. Has there been anyone that's came, excuse me, I'm hoarse, and I'm sure White Eagle's going to want to make that better. Has anyone ever came to you for healing and not been healed? And was there a reason for them not being healed? I mean, that's just a logical question.
Well, like I'm saying is, I've had people that have no faith, no belief, and I've healed them irregardless, period. I had a gentleman you're talking about here that was in reference to 10 years of back pain and back problems, and he suffered that period of time. His sister brought him to me, and she was laughing because I got him well within less than 5 minutes. And the sister was laughing. She says, "I knew you would do it." I says, "But I told gentleman, I said, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in anything. I said, you don't even have faith, do you?" He says, "You're right."
He had one experience where, and he, you know, a lot of people will come when their parent is just hanging on by a thread. The White Eagle is, okay, if you're going to give them my herbs, you've got to stop all prescriptions, because all pharmaceutical to the native is negative energy. It's they think it's sorcery. That's the way they think of pharmaceutical, because it's not natural for the body. And he's had a few families that half the family would be divided. Half of them would give him the holistic medicine, and then somebody would come in and start pumping the morphine in them again. And you can't do that. It's just, and there was one situation like that, but the man was, you know, they waited till he was just, like I said, he was just hanging on by a thread, and then the family was fighting whether to go holistic or keep pumping in the morphine. And so it has to be either or. You can't ride both sides of the fence.
We've got another question in chat. Another one from Mr. Nunya. What is your advice, or what advice do you have for our war veterans coming home?
Well, I was offered a possibility of a job by Fort Bliss position for all these people coming back with the, what is the terminology they use?
Oh, PTSD.
Okay, PTSD. And he was very interested in me for giving references to and working with those type of people that came out of the military. I had one case several years ago that was referred to me by a minister in Roswell, New Mexico, and he came to see me, and I gave him a clearing, spiritual clearing. And the minister came back to me and he says, "Whatever you did for him," he says, "he's a changed man. He looked like a war veteran from Vietnam that's been shot up and busted up. And he just, if you've ever seen anybody with killer eyes, he had them. He claimed over 300 people, but he was actually in a state of possession. So I cleared him up, and he went back to normal life. Yeah, but like I said, there was a physician from, actually it was a physician out of Fort Bliss over here near El Paso. that was interested in me healing these men that he couldn't do anything for.
Wow. That would be great, because we have a lot of wounded veterans that come back, and I'm not just talking physical, I'm talking mental too, and they could use you. So if we does anyone want to call in? Nanya has a lot of good questions. We've offered for Nanya to call in and take,
Nanya, if you want to call in on an anonymous number, I will still take your call. So if you want to call in and talk to White Eagle, and if you have more questions, don't be shy. Please call in, and we'll get you on air.
We have another question here. This one from a moderator, Miss Brenda. She says, "Do you recommend Monotropa uniflora Indian ghost pipe for pain?"
I don't recommend anything for pain, because almost every medicine I put together takes pain away. No drug is good to put in your body, because it's going to actually destroy your liver and destroy your kidneys. After a period of time of using any type of these toxic drugs with chemicals, you'll accumulate that, and after a while you'll end up with high blood pressure. You'll end up with ineffective liver, that you'll end up with no oxygen coming to your heart or to your brain. Furthermore, it moves into your kidneys at the same time, and then your kidneys malfunction. Then the doctors take over and they give you implants. If you want a liver implant, they'll give it to you. If you want a kidney implant, they'll give it to you. But then you have to take rejection drugs that give you cancer. So you want to go the natural way where there's no secondary effects, or do you want to go the way of Western medicine where you'll have to pay the price?
Okay, she said something about a ghost pipe.
Yeah.
What's happening today? That's only supposed to be used like once a year for ceremony, or a couple of times a year. We live real close to the Mexico border, and what's going on in South America right now is they're offering a lot of peyote or some of these other ceremonial tobaccos and things, and people are going down there and they're abusing these herbs, and they're wiping out their livers, and these are young people, and so there's a lot of that, and these people down there are pretending to be shamans, and they're charging thousands of dollars, and these kids are going down there for 4 sessions, and it sends them to the underworld, and we can explain that at a later time, but and they're addicted to it because it takes them to the spiritual realm, and that's a very dangerous thing to do if you're not on a true spiritual journey. And but they're literally wiping out their livers with peyote, and what's the other one that they're doing?
I'm trying to remember the name.
I can't even remember the names of them, but
there's one that they take a tour. You pay $3,000 and you go several times there. I had a CIA man come see me for treatment, and he was using it on a regular basis. He died of he wiped out his liver, malfunctioned liver, because of using, I think it's
Washabi, or there's a bunch of different names for a lot of those ceremonial herbs, but they're being abused.
It's abused, like I'm saying, when if some of the people that are using some of these, even these what they call herbal native hallucinating drugs, them are only used once a year most of the time. And if you use anything more than once a year, outside the memorial or any of the other meetings, you're abusing it. If you're abusing it, you'll pay a high price, because you're actually abusing your own body. Many of the people don't understand. They say, well, marijuana is okay, it's an herb. Why would God put it here? Well, I'll tell you what. Marijuana's got THC, and the THC knocks out your immune system. We're getting dumped by a lot of garbage, a lot of bio warfare now. And if you want to survive, you got to keep your immune system up. If you use something to drop your immune system, you're going to go ahead and self-destruct. And that's on the average.
We have a question in chat from Commander Zoe. White Eagle, do you or will you do sweats for people who come see you, if people can come to see you?
Okay, we are not set up for right now. We just moved out of a front store, and we're trying to relocate to another one. But there's sweats up there in Idaho. If he wants to go, if he's near Fort Idaho, he can go down to some of the sweats over there. There's people that have them already set up there. He doesn't have to come down here.
I have a question that's off topic about what we were talking and covering about earlier on in the show about appointed lawyers. Could you elaborate on what you believe and what are actually appointed lawyers?
An appointed lawyer. A lawyer is an officer of the court. He's a member of the judicial department. And if you decide you want to take an appointed lawyer, you're declaring yourself incompetent, which means if he goes before a magistrate pursuant to a title, I believe it's Title 29 U.S.C. 636 of the Judiciary Code, Federal Judiciary Code, that will he'll allow jurisdiction over with that magistrate to go and make any determination or decision over your matter, your case. And if he decides to send you to prison, you've given him permission. And all he is just an attorney. And no attorney has jurisdiction over anyone else to make any type of decision, period. It's a violation also of the separations of powers to have a judicial officer make a determination over you when he's not an Article III judge in the federal court. Yeah.
Are you aware that we had a guest last night? His name was Judge Gary Darby, and he was going over some of the things that you had actually talked about with me when we were talking on the 28th doing an interview. I still have that interview, but I haven't yet released it because I want to send it through a little bit of editing because somebody does put out their personal phone number. It's not you, Mark White Eagle, but it is another person, and he doesn't have anything to do with this. And I really respect people when they give out their numbers. I want to make sure they go ahead.
Okay, here we have a question in chat, White Eagle. It's from Nanya. What is your opinion on GMOs?
That is a good question.
They're not any good for you, your system. It's very well
They're
done.
not okay. And that was by Nanya.
That's a very good opinion. Well, unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, guys, but it's hitting the top of the hour here now, and we're going to have to wrap it up pretty soon. I'd like to thank Mr. White Eagle for his time and coming onto our show and explaining things to us the way he has. I really would. It has been rather insightful. We will hopefully be trying to call you back and get you back on the air at some different point. It has been a very educational moment here. Thank you yet again, sir, for coming on to the show, and thank you all to our guests for being patient with us during our procedures earlier in the show. I'm sorry if it has caused a little bit of an offset.
Oh, not only that, White Eagle, would you like to give your website one more time and your phone number so in case people came in chat late or they came in to just view and listen, they will know. So can you give that information out again, please?
Oh, he's asking me to do that. It's
That's fine.
WhiteEagleNativeHerbs.net. And then our teaching platform is thenativespiritway.com.
Okay.
And we can be reached by email at either of those two sites, or his cell phone number is 575-910-0849. That's 575-910-0849.
Okay, you guys got that. Okay, we would like to thank you guys for coming on. We'd like to have you back again as a guest. And we appreciate everything that you guys have done. I especially personally appreciate White Eagle for what he's done. And we had a good show, and we'd like to thank you. And if anyone has any questions, you do have their email address, their website, and their phone numbers. They can answer you personally if you give them a call. And please, go to the site. Check out his herbs. And like he said, he can walk you through anything. Okay, guys? Thank you guys for coming.
I'd like to bring one item up here.
Sure.
All these all these herbs are high. You good?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
All these herbs are high-powered, and the effects are very quick. If they have any pain, it's quickly eradicated with the first dose. And like I said, I have some what you call one item is a super pill, and it blows disease out of the system very quickly. That's 2 capsules 3 times a day. You'll see that on the site for 3 days, and it's called a revitalizer. And like I'm saying, it works very quick and efficiently for eradication of many of the types of diseases that people are infiltrated with. Many of the diseases come in and gradually in layers on a regular basis. And this helps to go ahead and take them out, and the energy increases and eradicates the radiation in the system and all that. And
okay, White Eagle. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I want to ask you a question real quick. What is your opinion of, since you know about herbs and everything, someone referred this to me to open my passages for breathing and nasal. It's oil of oregano. Do you know what that is?
Oregano.
Oregano.
That's what it is. It's just it's an oil, but it's for bacteria. It's used for knocking out bacteria in the system. It's one very powerful. I don't know if it would work for your respiratory, but like I'm saying, it won't be. It depends on what you have, and like I'm saying, if it would be good for any type of bacteria, it'd be good advisable for any type of cancer to use. But I wouldn't say that it would be used for what I see that you have.
And yes, he does see what I have. Okay. It's kind of spooky, but hey, I believe in the man. Is there anything else you need to say to all the viewers and listeners out there at White Eagle?
Yes, like I said, I have, I'm widely known by Hispanic people because of the cultural ways that they believe, and I'm very well talked about. I've did a lot of radio shows in Idaho. I did a lot of Weiser, Idaho. I used to do regular radio shows, and also radio shows in Roswell and other areas out of Odessa, Texas. But like I'm saying, I'll be looking forward to people that really they're tired of being sick, and they want to get well, and they're tired of the pain, because that's my specialty, is eradicating pain.
Okay, there you go, guys. You heard it from White Eagle himself. White Eagle, I would like to thank you and your wife for coming on here. We've learned a lot, and we've gotten so much knowledge from you. Also, I would like to ask, would you be a guest with us again, you guys?
Yes, we will.
I would also like to extend my open door policy for the show to you. Anytime that you want to come back on the air at any time for any reason, give Clovis a holler, and we will get you on air in first or second segment of the night, or whatever we got going on. Or if you even want to call in and give some advice to the co-host, or not the co-host, but the other guests that join us, that would be welcome too.
Okay, that sounds great. We accept. More than likely, whenever we're invited again, we will gladly be glad to go ahead and take them.
I want to bring awareness to my other site. It's mamabearsunite.org, and it's a big passion of mine, because I'm being a voice for our children who have no voice. What I've uncovered is the corruption of how they're using legislative appropriations, where they're stealing our children's educational dollars from our public land trust, and they're using them to build the infrastructure for the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. I've uncovered how they're using our public lands. They're manipulating land titles and doing prearranged land flips, and it's in order that they can now gain control of our groundwater. It's like our water is now the new oil, and they're doing it so they can make billions of dollars of profits from selling our water. And I've uncovered some crazy corruption, and I'm uncovering how we can stop these environmental extremism of pipelines and nuclear waste sites that's going up in all states. And all 50 states have these public land educational trusts. And they're even stealing our universities' dollars as well. And This goes all the way to our land commissioner, to our governor here in Texas. But see, the other states have, their lands are being managed by the BLM. The big Oregon standoff, that's how I actually met Phil. I was trying to make contact with him going, guys, you don't have to do it that way because I can tell you how they're doing it. And they're creating bogus conservation easements. And even Obama is creating massive thousands and thousands of acres of conservation easements. And they're doing that because it's mischief in law, because where no law applies, they can do as they see fit regarding conservation easements because it's a charitable gift. And so I've uncovered how they're doing all of that. But more importantly, they're condemning our children's educational futures. And we even uncovered that here in Texas, even though White Eagle stopped the federal funding, fiduciary responsibility, which carries the highest standard of care under the law. And so when they steal these educational dollars, what I'm trying to bring awareness of how it affects your local community is that they used to pay 80% for our schools and communities had to come up with 20%. Well, now they're only paying 30% because they're still in their money, and they're wanting communities to come up with 70%. So what our counties are doing, they're raising property taxes, they're raising our utility services are going through the roof. And, you know, it's all structured. It's been by design, you know, just to keep us that much poor. And while these are multi-billion-dollar corporations who are putting money in their pockets, but they want us building their infrastructure. And so my report is very extensive. We uncovered huge amounts of corruption, but they're stealing from our children. And what I'm trying to bring awareness is they're destroying our lands. The BP oil spill on the Gulf Coast of Texas, that was a mineral lease done inside our Children's Educational Trust here in Texas. And they're touting that by this time next year, they're going to be more than double in production in the oil business and on the offshore drilling. And our dolphins on the Gulf Coast can't even reproduce any longer. All their babies are stillborn. And so I'm trying to tell people, you know, what are we teaching our children? We are not leading by example. And the educational system here in Texas has been deemed unconstitutional 6 times before the Supreme Court. But parents are still putting their kids in these schools. And it's time that we as people stand up and lead by example for our future generations. And I bring a lot of awareness about the law on my site, because when we give our consent to be governed, we've given our responsibilities away to manage our own lands and manage our own resources. But when governments start failing us, we can stand up and say, I do not consent to be governed. And by their English laws, they have to step down. And so I'm trying to, people say you're trying to start a revolution. I said, well, I guess so. Because I want a better world for my children and my grandchildren than what we have here. They're enslaving us and they're keeping us economically oppressed. And I've always said, think about every war that's ever been fought. It's been over the land and who's going to control it. And it's time we learn the lessons from our ancestors' mistakes. And we put an end to it, or there's not going to be anything left for our children. And so my site goes over a lot of this, but it also talks about the law and our rights and how we can do it without violence. And just like White Eagle demanded audits, we can demand audits. Because these legislative appropriations started in 2011, so there's been no accounting practice whatsoever. They pretty much pulled all of the accounting practices away from our state school boards and our university boards, and this was done by our land commissioner. And so they used to be the ones that did all the checks and balances. But this is going on in all 50 states, so it's not just Texas. So, but I encourage everyone to also, because this is about our kids, and when they start destroying the land and poisoning our water and our air, and then now they're stealing from our innocent children, and now they're digging up our ancestors' archaeological sites out here, and and they're supposed to call it historical commissions, but they're not even obeying those laws. And so these aren't politics anymore. These are crimes against humanity. And it's time that we as people stand up, and we can do this, but we just got to be strong and come together as one family and of humanity and do what's right for the kids.
Right. And also, Commander Zoe said in chat that maybe you need to get in touch with Grandmother Circle the Earth. They have a website. It's gce-global.org. They're Native American women that's taking a stand too, and they might be a good source for you. So you might want to try to hitch up with them and find out what, could they be helpful in any way to help you with what you're doing.
Sure. Okay.
Exactly. All right. And what was your site again, so we can make sure we get this out there?
It's mamabearsunite.org.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys coming on the show, and we loved everything. I mean, we learned so much, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people coming to you guys. And like Toe said, you get some idiots that call you on because we don't like really giving our phone numbers out on the internet, but just ignore them and keep doing
well,
good work.
Well, they're dealing with the medicine man. He can sense them and and pick up if they're lying, or so he just hangs up.
I know when I first called him, he put me through 20 questions, and I was very uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's trying to see if I'm serious or not. Okay.
Yeah, so, well, thank you so much.
And thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, hear from you people later. Okay.
White Eagle just texted me and said,